we've had some excellent engagement with Irish helper firms, which I should give a shout out to. Fantastic law firm, Mason, Hayes & Curran, fantastic tax advisor, Deloitte. We have Grant Thornton as our auditor, and Waystone is our SPV admin. So it's really a good feeling I get by being here. So hopefully you'll get a good feeling from my little presentation here. So we're all in on mRNA vaccines and the R&D of them and the manufacturing of them. So this is my little clicker. I'll go to the next slide. So this is a big problem, and we all lived through it. Probably most of us in this room have had an mRNA vaccine, so we can all relate. It was just, a mind-blowing experience for me being locked down in London for 3 years. Here I am back on the road again. And 21 million people died. Over 100 million people have experienced long COVID, and some of the numbers blow my mind, 28 trillion lost. So it's a huge problem. Thank goodness we have vaccines that are safe and effective now, and we can all sit in this room together without wearing masks, obviously. There are 10,000 diseases, only about 500 are treatable today. And, our ambition is to do 100 vaccines, which sounds like a lot, but not that many when you talk about how many diseases there are. And to do 100 vax factories in a systematic approach. Now that sounds like a big number. We'll do one. We'll do the first one here in Ireland. And just to give you an idea, one of my favorite movies called The Founder, which I highly recommend, with Michael Keaton. In 1954, there was one McDonald's. Today, there's 40,000. 40,000 restaurants. Okay, so they must have done something right. So this is what our first vax factory will look like. We're systematizing the regulated clean room GMP safety and scalability to save more lives, basically. We'll hopefully locate this first vax factory just down the street here at the Dublin Airport Logistics Facility. And this little video in 1.5 minutes will tell you the story of what it is. So let's go ahead and play that right now. Thanks.
Vax Factory by Normax is an mRNA vaccine factory with good manufacturing process, GMP, for local production of mRNA vaccines when and where they are needed for global public health and pandemic preparedness. Vax Factory design principles are based on modularity, open standardization, automation, and regulatory compliance for safe manufacturing of mRNA vaccines at large scale, small scale, and micro scale. Vax Factory is prefabricated with preferred GMP manufacturing partners in cooperation with the mRNA UCV Consortium, founded by Normax. Our flagship products are the standard Vax Factory and Max Factory configurations. Vax Factory is configured to produce 100 million mRNA vaccines per year, and the Max Factory for 300 million mRNA vaccines in 100 days. Normax plans the first Vax factories in Ireland, Switzerland, UK, US. With the first Max factory in the US, the investment budget by Normax is $30 million per Vax factory, with a budget of $300 million for the Max factory. Vax Factory will create high-value employment opportunities in local markets and transformative investment for global public health and pandemic preparedness. Vax Factory by Normax. Pathogens are inevitable, diseases are not.
Thank you. So that was 1.5 minutes. Actually, if you go to our website, you can click on the investor link in the upper right-hand corner. You can get our pretty decent story in 5 minutes. So I couldn't agree more with some comments earlier that being able to tell your story in a really compelling and effective way is incredibly important. So hopefully we're starting to get there on this one. We do believe that we can, wherever we go with our business, we can generate a lot of benefits for our investors. Also for, obviously we need to hire a lot of people to do this work. And, we're actually very determined to, and we will deliver the first Vax factory here in this city. So that's a press release that's going out. It'll be on the website in about a week. So everybody will be familiar in our space, in the biotech space, of the bench to bedside need to go from invention to clinic. And you need all this stuff to translate from invention to a product: people, stakeholders, technology, knowledge, especially finance and products. So then this will be a graph that I've lived with for 36 years. And every CEO and every new entrepreneur is familiar with this problem. You know, a lot of companies fail. That's why we call it the Valley of Death. It's not that hard to get started in the beginning, hopefully with family and friends and seed investors and so on. But as you grow, it's really tough, and a lot of companies fail. So I wanted to try something new when we started our mRNA vaccine business, and I got lucky. Well, this is a simplified diagram of the same problem. Basically, there's a gap. There's not enough experienced entrepreneurs. So if you're an entrepreneur in this room, great. You know, you're in high demand. There's not that many experienced entrepreneurs. Access to capital is a barrier, freedom to operate, and obviously there's a lot of gatekeepers in the space. So you have to navigate your way to get to the private sector. A lot of innovation, obviously, government, universities. So how do we get across this valley of death faster and more efficiently? Well, my idea was to build a bridge. So we build a bridge with a more modern and flexible business structure. And we've created a share, which is a financial product which we'll list to fund the business. So this is a press release that we put out on July 11th to announce this 300 million share subscription facility, which we closed with a cornerstone investor on the 12th of May. And there's a bit of a story behind that, but basically that cash is on the table, but to get it, we have to list the share. So, you know, it's like a put option. So they get a discount, they get some warrants, they get some fees, everybody's happy, we get some liquidity. We need liquidity to call that cash, but from the day we list for 3 years, we can call that cash when we want. Now, their minimum deal was 10 million when we started talking. It took 10 months to close the deal. They do a lot of deals. This little company called GEM, they're an alternative investment fund manager. They have about 4 billion AUM. So you can just read about it on our website. And we got some good press, actually, in Business Post, so that was very happily for us. So this is where the money will go to work. 50 million on the top co and 25 million on each one of the SPVs. So we have a structure that's totally different than Big Pharma because we want to create basically a business for each vaccine or a business for each vaccine factory. So an investor can, put his money where he wants depending on his risk appetite, whether it's equity or debt, or he wants to have a diversified investment across the whole strategy. Or an investor might say, look, I really just want to invest in the Ireland Vax factory. Fantastic. Or maybe you want to invest in the tuberculosis vaccine. Fantastic. So it's mechanics. So this is a diagram that I won't trouble you with, but it's very simple. We start out with a free IPO funding, which we're doing now. We get to market on SIX, which is the third largest exchange in Europe in Zurich. And, we'll look at any exchange that makes sense, but we've done some due diligence and we like that market. They have a new product called 6 Sparks, which is like London AIM for SMEs. You might check it out. It's a brand new product. And the barrier or the requirements are a lot lower, as you would expect for an SME to list. And it's a fully regulated exchange, so even pension funds could invest in your business. So we're going there. We're going to go there in Q1, and that's a bit of a story. I won't trouble you with that because I want to get to the finish line here and try to get some questions from the audience. Would love to have some, so think of a question or two. So it's mechanics, and I won't trouble you with this slide either, but it's basically all the standard techniques that you would imagine for debt and equity to go to market with an SPV. That's my CFO, Martin. He's my Tenzing Norgay. Nobody gets to the top of Everest without a Sherpa to guide you, and he's my CFO. I've known Martin 20 years. This is what a vaccine would look like graphically. It's just a fat ball with some molecule in it, called an mRNA molecule. It's a molecule that will instruct your cell to produce a certain protein, in this case the spike protein for the COVID. And, it's pretty basic technology. These are the videos I told you about on the website that tell the story. That's some of the more detailed illustration of the Vax Factory. This is the movie I told you about, really fun to watch. and quite informative. It turns out that McDonald's really wasn't in the hamburger business. They were in the land business, and that's how they got to 40,000 restaurants. So that's a fun little movie. And we're actually looking at some of these properties here in town. Rohan, as some of you may know, is a quite well-known developer, and they have some really fantastic properties either for lease or buy. So hopefully we'll locate in one of these three. And that's me. Thank you very much. If anybody has any questions, that'd be fantastic. I just have one question of my own while you're thinking of a question. So how many people in this room have had an mRNA vaccine? That's my question. So it looks like 95%. Okay, so this is a thing this is a product that we can all relate to, and happily so, because, you know, we'd still be locked down if we didn't have vaccines. It would be still a horrible situation, which we all live through. So the interesting thing, and I'll answer your question about how easy it is to understand mRNA vaccines. It's really like going from analog to digital in the world of vaccines, which means simply that you program it. So it's like coding on a computer. You program the 4 nucleotides, which actually instruct biologically the cell to produce the protein, and that's it. So it's a natural process. Every cell has DNA. Every cell DNA translates to mRNA, messenger mRNA, and that then is produced into proteins, which is the basis of all life. So it's a very natural thing, but the trick is to be able to deliver it, and that's where the lipid nanoparticles come in, and it's quite a complex landscape, but it's evolving fast. So it's a fascinating technology, and it's really a big opportunity for innovators because, you know, there are a lot of diseases. A lot of them are ignored. These are called rare diseases. Out of the 10,000, 7,000 are rare diseases. And these are horrible diseases often for families, and, you know, sometimes if you're unlucky, you're born with just one letter out of place, it can be a death sentence. So there's a lot of ways to use this technology for very high impact, you know, obviously save lives or improve lives. And that's why we started the business, frankly. We think we can make a lot of money, nice for investors. I'll tell you a little story. How much time do I have left?
1 minute.
1 minute, okay. Does anybody have any questions? You have a question.
Well, I was quite interested in you mentioned you're looking to raise 10 million, and then I see 300 million. I was interested in the path.
Did I say 10 million?
Or, well, I think, maybe I misheard, but...
Our budget is 30 million per factory.
Yeah. And sorry, go ahead.
No, what's the question?
No, I had a second question, which was, you know, you're obviously doing it's a large, complex transaction with GEM, and, you know, just kind of looking at an investor, and, you know, we've been going through COVID. This has probably been developing for a while. How did you evaluate them, or try to understand, are they, you know, a company that you trust to kind of work with?
How do we partner with companies?
No, how did you evaluate GEM as the investor?
Oh, they called me.
Yeah.
It was good luck. They said we do very well with pharma investments. Half of all our deals are pharma. And we have this product that we engage, which is a pre-IPO engagement. And it's spelled out on the press release on the first page. It's very simple. When we list the share, we can call the cash when we want for 3 years. So they get a discount, and they get some warrants, and they get some fees. So they don't take pre-IPO risk. Obviously, we have to list the share. So they called me, and 10 months later, we got the deal. I couldn't have done it without my lawyers, actually. Thank you. Yeah, that's the short answer. It's very simple, that deal. Now, it's not easy to get, but I think there's a lot of investors that would like to buy a listed share if it's a business they believe in. And it's a lot easier these days to list the business than you might think, actually. It's done all the time. It's done every day. So there's a new listing rule in the U.S. just approved a year ago by SEC called a primary direct listing, which is direct with or without banks. You can happily take their orders. But you just sell your shares and raise money. Not that hard to understand. My last comment, if I may.
Yep.
I was at the Jefferies London Healthcare Conference yesterday. I'll be back there tomorrow, so I gave that up today for you guys. So here I am. Thank you for having me. I was in the BioNTech session, which was like 5 times the size of the stage. So small room, totally packed. BioNTech, of course, is a peer. They're listed. They were a small company. In 2019, they raised $190 million. They had a hard time placing, actually. And the room was packed with investors and journalists because they all wanted to hear what this chief strategy officer had to say about their data and their product. Why? Well, they have $21 billion in cash on their balance sheet, okay? So, you know, be very happy for a tenth of that, but that's the scale of this problem and the opportunity. So thank you for having me, and thanks for the question.
And if you want to talk to Peter,
here all day.
he'll be here all day. It's a fantastic story from nothing to something massive. You're going to be hearing a lot more about it. Peter Jensen, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well done.